Okay, so back in January you saw the first proto of the Planar 2. Now we have the pre-production version and there's been some changes. Most notable, you can see we've got the vinyl faceplate and these new custom buttons that are illuminated. But there's also a new function that's really interesting called scrub mode. And that's when I can select the modes like this. So when I have both LEDs lit, that's active. And in this mode, if I record some weird action, and then I set it to playback, every time I trigger something, say like an envelope or an LFO, it's going to scan through the recording. And this gives you a lot of power because you can change the rate that you scan through. So basically, if I have an envelope here with just an attack amount, you're going to hear the envelope. I'm just going to listen on these headphones so you can hear what's going on. So right now it's quite quick that it's going through that recording. So if I slow the attack time, you hear more slower rate of change, and then I can get even slower. And if I have some decay as well, then you're basically going forwards and then backwards. So I'm going to record a new shape here now. So I could transform the way this sounds pretty quickly by changing the envelope shape. Or I can record a new pattern. Right now it's modulating the pitch and the shape of the shapeshifter. But we're only using these two XY outputs. I can use all the other ABCD outputs too to get even more complexity. So let's take this and patch this to internal FM amount. And then let's do the ratio. And I could try a different. This is a pretty random, noisy example, but kind of gives you an idea of what you can start to do if you put some more thought into your patch. And just gives you an easy way to get some pretty pronounced changes with just a few controls. So up here, we're driving it. You'll see two new prototypes. One is called Octalink, and it's very simple. Using a shielded Ethernet cable, I have 8 inputs or outputs. So these are sold in pairs, and then on the other case, you can see down here is another one. So if you want to pass CB, gates, and clock, you can do audio too between cases. It's a nice way to have a system link. If they're side by side, across the room, or even if they're stacked, it's just that way you want to move. You don't have to worry about the cables that are interconnected. And then beside that this is a much earlier version of the prototype. The final version wasn't ready in time for the Superbooth, unfortunately. So the final version is actually 2 rows of 8 buttons that are similar to these ones that were on the Planar down here. So these illuminated buttons. And it'll give you 4 tracks of 64 steps. And the sequencer has a lot of functions. You can see it's kind of built off of the microstep, which was our first module. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff like if I press and hold this, I can go to performance mode. So now I can stutter a step or loop between points. There's individual swing, clock division, gate length per track. There's a whole bunch of other little tricks in here that we'll reveal once we have the final version out, which will be sometime this summer. Catch.